Hey now, what's up, everybody? Today we're gonna do some Code Katas. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We need to head over to codewars.com. And if you don't know, Code Katas are little coding challenges. They rank from easiest at 8Q, hardest at 1Q. Best way, or the way we like to do it, is sort them by most completed and just do them one by one, going down through the row. And I think the one that we're on now is... Let's look. Growth of population, we've done that. Replace alphabet. Find the next perfect square. Let's check it out. You might know some pretty large perfect squares, but what about the next one? Complete the find the next square method that finds the next integral perfect square after the one passed as a parameter. Recall that an integral perfect square is an integer n such that square root n is also an integer. If the parameter itself is not a perfect square, then -1 should be returned. You may assume the parameter is positive. Cool. So we're given a number, which is a perfect square, and we need to find out what the next perfect square is going to be. So I think we can do that pretty easily, or at least in theory. I think I know how I want to go about it. So let's go into our Katas folder. Let's open up our file in VS Code. Bam, as so. Bring our title in. Then let's bring in our function. And let's bring in our test. So first thing we're going to need to do is check if the number that they're giving us even is a perfect square to begin with. If it's not, then we need to return -1. Let's go ahead and bring... let's start up Quokka. Let's go ahead and bring these down so we can see our output. Test is not defined, that's fine, we'll fix that in a second. We'll have to change these to console.logs. As so. Now we're getting -1 returned, which is right, because we're returning it right here. I'm going to get rid of these strings. These annoy me. Cool. So -1 is what we're returning. This is the answer that we should be returning. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to check if the number is a perfect square from the get-go. So the way to do that is we're going to do, so if we log math, and then we pass in our square root, what's it called, SQ? Cool. I think what we're really getting here is, let's open up our console. What's the first number we're passing in? 144. So let's check this out real quick. Let's open up our console. Let's say math dot square root, and we'll pass in 144. 12. And if we put that in parentheses and we say math.round, so we're still getting 12. So 144 is a perfect square. Let's say we did like 145. Now we're getting a decimal. So the perfect square will be a whole number, and if it's not a perfect square, we're going to get that decimal number. So if we have 145 here, and we do what we just did, and we put this in, say math.round, we'll get 12. So what we want to say, we want to say if we want to check this, make sure there's no decimal. So we'll say if math dot square root, we'll pass in our square root, is not equal to math dot round, math dot square root, and then pass in our square root, then we need to return -1, right? Because one will be a float, one will be a whole number. So that will check. So now if it is, now we need to loop, we need to take in our square root, and we'll just check number by number. We'll keep adding 1, 1, 1 until we find the number that is a square root where they are equal to each other. So to do that, we're gonna need a for loop. And we'll say let's let I equal our square root that we're passed plus 1, because we're just going to start incrementing. And then we don't need a conditional. We just want it to keep incrementing until we hit the next perfect square. So we're going to skip our conditional statement, and then we'll say we'll increment. We'll say I plus plus, like that. And then what we need to do is say we need to check if it's a square root. So we're gonna do that same thing we did at the top to check if it I mean a perfect square. So we're gonna do that same check at the top, except we're gonna say equals. So we'll say if in fact we're just gonna steal it. Where is it? This. We'll put it in here, but this needs to be a triple equals. So if it is a perfect square, then we're gonna go ahead and return I. Oh, and also since we're incrementing we need to check each number after we increment it. So we're actually want to throw our index in here. Since our index equals the original number that they gave us plus 1. So then we return I. So I don't know what's not, there we go. It was just lagging for a second. So yeah, I mean, that looks like it works to me, right? Cool. I don't know what this yellow means. So is it like not even... I mean, I think we need to do that, right? Because we need to check. It says to return -1 if the input's not originally a perfect square. Cool. Let's submit it and see what happens. Close this console up. Let's chunk it in. Let's test it. How about them apples? Let's attempt it. Cool. That's how you do it right there. So let's go ahead and submit it. Okay, so if we check our everybody else's answers, we can see they return square root remainder 1. So that, okay, so that makes sense. And then they return -1, and if not, math.pal, math.square root plus 1 to the power of 2. Huh. Interesting. They have a variable with the square root in it. If math.round number is equal to number, return math related to power. Number, what's the double plus sign? I know what, I can't remember. Should we look it up? Let's look it up real quick. Double plus. This might not bring it up. Operators. MDN. Yep. Increment. Oh, it oh, no way. That's cool. X plus plus. So it'll be 4. And Y will equal. Cool. Cool. Handy. Or else return -1. And that's another thing. We could have just looped, done our loop, and then anything that didn't catch, we could have just returned -1 at the bottom, I think, and that would have still worked. Took out the top line, just return -1. Oh well, though. It's cool. All right, cool. Let's do another one. 2 to 1. Take two strings, S1 and S2, including only letters from A to Z. Return a new sorted string. Return a new sorted string, the longest possible, containing distinct letters. So do we? So we can. We need to find. So X is in here. So we need to take our string. Take out any duplicates from it. Then we need to compare our strings. We need to compare our strings and create a new string combining every unique letter. So we could do that. Okay, cool. So I know how we're gonna do it. So let's bring it down locally. Open it in VS Code. Title. Grab our function. And bring in our test. So what it wants us to do, it's given us two strings. Let's get Quokka started. We're gonna need to change these to console.logs. And then we're gonna need, let's bring these down so that we can see our output. So we're getting undefined return. That's good. This is what we want to be returned in the end. So we're given two strings, S1 and S2. They have duplicate letters in them. We want to remove those duplicate letters. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna manipulate them. We're gonna say S1 equals you can only use a set on an array, I believe. Right? Okay, so you can run it on a string. Looks like. Let's log it out and see what happens. So let's log out. Let's do a little test here. Let's log out new set, and then let's throw in S1. What does that give us? And we don't want to deal with all these letters. Let's just deal with our first test so we can kind of see what's going on. So that worked. It took out every duplicate letter. That's cool. Then can we say we can't say dot. What do we we can't say .toString, can we? No. It'd be something like .join. .toString's not gonna work, right? No. We need to what if we do, can we do we need to turn the set into an array, right? What is a set? Let's look. Okay, cool. Turn set into array. Oh, okay, we can spread it. Array.from. Can we do okay. Cool. So there we go. And we can go ahead and join them because we need them as a string, honestly. So then we could say .join. We could join them up like that. Cool, that works for our purposes. So let's go ahead and take this, and then we're gonna say S1 equals that, and then we'll say S2 equals that, but we need to plug in S2. So now we have our arrays with only unique letters in them. So what I'm gonna do, we're gonna loop over our second array. We're gonna look at each value, and if the value that we're looking at is not in our first array or in our first string, then we're gonna add it to that string. And if it is, we'll ignore it. And if it is already in the first string, then we'll ignore it. And then at the ends, we'll have our built-up string with all the individual letters. Cool. I want to go ahead and cool. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm getting glitchy. Let's say let's loop through. Let's I equal 0. And we could loop. We could have looped through the second string and through the first string out to the second string. It doesn't matter either way. But so we'll say while I is less than s2.length. I plus plus. Need to let our computer calm down. sounding like an airplane taking off. Okay, I think we're back down to normal. So we'll say we'll let let's let letter equal s2 at index. So that'll give us each individual letter. Do we have any programs running that we don't need running? Okay. So let's say if S1 dot includes letter, and we want to say if it does not include, and this is S1, not sign. So if S1 we're lagging, so if S1 does not include letter, then we want to say S1 plus equals letter. Okay. And so now we should, let's log out S1. Cool, so we're getting it. Now what we need to do is we need to sort it. So how do you sort alphanumeric characters? Oh, we need to split it first before we sort it. So I guess we really didn't need to turn it into a string at the top. We'll fix that in a second, but right now we'll just say dot split. Then we'll sort it. Did that sort it? No, it didn't. Let's see how you sort. Sorts alphanumeric characters JavaScript. I guess not. Okay, I mean, whatever. Let's just play with it, actually. Say, so that'll take in A and B. And then we'll say, let's go ahead and get rid of this tab. We don't need it. Let's go ahead and say A minus B. So that didn't work. A plus B. So this isn't doing anything for us. This isn't changing our, oh, we need to split it. Oh my god. Still not doing anything. right? Let's see, how do you, okay, sort. Sort letters JavaScript. Oh, I do not want to deal with ASCII code stuff. No way, that's how we have to do it. Right. It says that works. That'll sort it? Didn't seem to work earlier, but I guess we were testing it with all of this. Does that work? Oh, what are we missing? Parentheses. Okay, so that works. Cool. So instead of we're gonna join it down here instead of doing these double joins. And then we don't need to split it again. Let's get rid of these joins. This should work. Get rid of those joins. Is that not gonna work? So S1 should be an array, correct? So it is an array, so we're doing all that. Oh, we can't plus equal. We would have to say S1 dot push, because now we're pushing to an array. Cool, like that. And then we'll join it right here. Like that. And that's what we want to return. So we'll get rid of this console log, return, get rid of this parenthesis, and that should work for all of our tests. Let's check them all out and make sure. Is it working? Yep, all looks good. Cool. So let's put it into Code Wars, see what happens. And I wonder, is Quokka still running on this file? Oh, it is. So that's probably causes some trouble. We could go ahead and get rid of that file. We don't need it. Computer's lagging, so I'm trying to save as much CPU as possible. We can go ahead and stop it on this file too. So let's test this out. Passed. Let's attempt it. Hey now, that's what's up. Okay, cool. So let's submit it, see how other people solved it. check it out. This looks super simple. They just spread out the set. S1 plus S2. Okay, so they... I didn't know you could do that. So they combined the new strings. Oh, they added the... They concatenate... Ah, genius. They concatenated the two strings and then ran a set on it. Duh. Cool. That's a... Yeah, that's a super good answer. Right up from the same thing. Should have thought of that, man. Okay, cool. Let's do like one more. Remove string spaces. Simple. Remove the spaces from the string, then return the resultant string. Okay, cool. Let's do it. Not JJS. And open it up in VS Code. We can go ahead and get rid of this file. Let's grab our function. As so. And let's grab our test. Cool. Let's change all these into console.logs. And let's start up Quokka. Cool. Let's bring our functions down so we can see our output. So we're given a string with a bunch of spaces in it. And we need to remove the spaces and then return the string. So what we're going to do, I think we're going to turn it into an array. And map over it. Let's return x.split. And we'll split it like that. And does that give us our spaces? It should. Cool, so that gives us our spaces. So what we're gonna do, we can do this in one line. We'll say return x.split. Or really we could just spread x out, I believe. We could say return x dot map. We'll take in our character, whatever it may be. Then we'll have a ternary. We'll say if character equals empty space, then we want that to be replaced with a blank space. If not, we want our character that we originally had. And then we want to join it like that, and that should work. Cool. So this is our answer now. That's our answer. No more spaces. So what we did, they all work? Looks like it. What we did is we turned our string into an array. We looked over at we looked at each character. If the character was an empty a space, we did a closed space. We turned it into nothing. And if it wasn't, if it was a character, then we just went ahead and returned that character. And at the end, we joined the whole thing together. Cool. So let's go ahead and submit that and see if that works. Let's test it out. Passing. Let's attempt. Cool. Let's submit it. So, looks like here they just use some regex. That's cool. They just returned x.split.join. Oh, split on the space and then join? Interesting. I didn't know you could do that. This checks for a space with regex, replaces it with closed space. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's all we're gonna do for today. Thanks for everybody for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.